Underwater, people don't scream. They don't fight. They don't beg. They run out of air. In silence. There is no blood. No warning signs. Just one small mistake. One dive. A little too deep. And staying there, a little too long. Some divers don't panic when they're dying. They stay calm until the oxygen is gone. And when that moment comes, the water has already won. This dive did not begin with a mistake. The weather was calm. The water was steady. All equipment was in place. This was not a reckless dive, and not a beginner. The diver had been to this depth before and had always returned. The plan was simple. Enter, descend, survey the area, then ascend. Slowly. There were no warning signs, no sense of danger. That was the problem. Underwater, danger rarely announces itself. It arrives, looking normal. In the first minutes, everything felt controlled. Breathing was steady. Movement was efficient. The light remained stable. But at depth, time behaves differently. Every breath consumes more oxygen than it does at the surface. And most divers never truly feel it. They only feel more focused, more calm. Without realizing it, the distance to the surface quietly becomes too far. There is no alarm, no pain, only one thing changes. The air in the tank drops faster than expected. And when the diver finally checks the gauge, there is no panic, just a thought. It's still enough. It has always been enough, until it isn't. At first, nothing feels wrong. The diver continues forward, still controlled, still precise. But something subtle begins to change. The breathing. Each inhale comes a little faster, each exhale a little shorter. At depth, oxygen disappears quietly. The body compensates before the mind reacts. Heart rate increases. Muscles demand more air. The diver tells himself it's normal. Just exertion, just depth. The gauge is checked again. The needle has moved. Not enough to alarm. Not enough to turn back. So the dive continues. Minutes pass. The water feels heavier. Movement requires more effort. Breaths become louder inside the regulator. This is the moment most divers miss. Not because they ignore it, but because it feels manageable. The problem isn't panic, it's confidence. The diver has handled worse, stayed longer, gone deeper. So he adjusts. One more look, one more turn, one more minute. But oxygen does not negotiate. It drains at a fixed cost, and now the cost is rising. The tank isn't empty, not yet. But the margin is gone. This moment does not feel dramatic. There is no panic, no struggle, just one realization, arriving too late. The air is no longer enough. Each breath becomes shallower, faster, more urgent. The diver stops moving, not to rest, but because the body begins to lose clarity. Underwater, oxygen deprivation does not always feel like suffocation. Often it feels like an unnatural calm. Vision narrows, movement slows, time fractures. The diver knows he needs to ascend, but direction no longer feels certain. Up and down lose their meaning. The light is still on, the water is still calm, but the mind is no longer whole. A hand reaches for the hose, searching for something that should be there, an alternate air source. It isn't found. At this point, decisions are no longer about choice. The body takes over. Movements become erratic. Breathing shifts into short, rapid pulls. Water begins to enter. Not because the tank is empty, but because the body is no longer synchronized. This is the point of no return, not because of depth, not because of distance, but because time has run out. And underwater, time never grants extensions. The water always becomes calm again, no matter what happened beneath it. When the diver does not resurface, time begins to count differently, no longer in minutes, but in hope. Search teams descend with the same routine: lights, guidelines, and silence. Underwater, there are no signs of struggle, no major damage, no clear warning, only a body found where it should not be, or not found at all. In many cases, the water does not return what it takes, and when it does, it is already too late. The cause of death is often simple: running out of air, a small mistake, a miscalculation of time, not bravery, not skill, just a limit that was crossed. The diver's name does not always make the news. Not every story is documented. Some disappear with their dive site, yet the pattern continues. A dive that looked safe, confidence, and one moment with no way back. Underwater, humans are always guests, and water never negotiates. It only waits. And when time runs out, the water wins. This story is not about one diver. It is about a limit. The line between safe and too far. Above the surface, the water looks calm, still, unchanged. But below it, different rules apply. Time is shorter, mistakes are more expensive, and help is always farther away than it feels. Most diving accidents do not begin with panic. They begin when everything still feels controlled. One more minute, one more breath, one decision that feels small. Underwater, small things rarely stay small. The water is not cruel. It does not hunt. It simply does not care. It does not know who is experienced, who is new, who feels confident. It only waits for the limit to be crossed. And when that happens, there is no warning, no negotiation, only silence. If there is one lesson to take from this story, it is not fear, it is respect. Because underwater, humans are not in control. We are only guests. And when time runs out, the water always knows how to end it.